Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to another special Between Takes episode of Missing Frames. I'm your host, Shawn Eastridge. Normally on Missing Frames, we watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives, but on these Between Takes episodes, we're a little off the beaten track. We do filmmaker interviews, we do franchise rewatches, all kinds of stuff, and every so often we have just an episode so special and so profound and touching and moving and dealing with subject matter that is truly it transcends anything the human experience has to offer. We just have to put it aside as a Between Takes episode. But anyway, we have Carley Cooper back in the studio. Carley, welcome back to the studio, aka your apartment and in the West Coast, and
I
me
live here
in my
now.
house. Yeah. You
No,
live on the
I-
podcast in the
yes.
podcast sphere. You don't have an actual physical existence anymore.
I am literally like, I've never been so excited to talk to anybody about anything in the way I'm excited to talk to you about
Do you want to
this.
tell the good people at home what movie we're going to be watching?
Okay, so ahead of time, you're welcome. Also, I'm sorry. Love on a Leash, and the fact that it's fully available on YouTube should be for free.
There's
you don't
no
need
excuse.
YouTube
No
TV.
excuses. You can watch it.
You can watch it on YouTube, and that it was on Amazon Prime, I believe, briefly, but YouTube is.
I want to, wherever I watch this, I want to make sure it is in the best possible quality, because this is a film that it really does define cinema like few other things we've discussed.
It also
that
shatters what you know to be cinema.
it completely, it obliterates expectations, cinematic tropes and norms to really develop a brand new form of visual storytelling. Is that how you describe this film?
It's indescribable, Shawn.
I let's set the scene a little bit. So this film, Love on a Leash, Carley and I were chatting. We were chatting about, oh, we should do another Missing Frames episode. And then we were talking about just like life and love and pursuit of happiness, all these things. And Carley just says, oh, please look up Love on a Leash on YouTube. And not really explaining what I was in for. I kind of
other than that his computer was not broken. The first 2 minutes are silent.
Yes,
so
there was no audio issues with my
wrong.
computer. And if you do choose to join us on this journey, just know that there is nothing wrong with your computer.
There's nothing wrong.
There's no audio.
Or your ears. It's okay. Your ears are fine.
Yes. So I got about 10 minutes into the film and was flabbergasted is the word I would choose to
Astonished?
say. Astonished. Just jaw dropped
just
to the
completely
floor.
Incredulous.
Yes, it was something I wasn't. Time doesn't work the same way. It's like Narnia. Like you feel like you're living out a whole lifetime, but really only a couple minutes have passed. That's what 10 minutes felt like 10 hours, frankly.
But it happens to you. But you're happy it's happening.
You're gonna suffer, but you're gonna be happy about it. So that's really I was like, I'm not ready for this. It's 10 p.m. I can't watch this all right now. So I stopped it, and Carley was I don't know, you had the inspired notion of turning this into a podcast episode.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I'm genuinely just trying to talk to somebody about this.
You've hijacked my podcast so you can talk about Love on a Leash with anybody.
But I'm also like, I'm really needing this to like, I need people to know about it. Not just you, you know, not just my immediate people around me, because I'm sure they're all tired of me talking about it. But it's just,
Can you explain how you stumbled upon this film? Give us the backstory.
I am a total cinephile. I love movies. You know that. You and I bond over films all the time.
You work in the movies. You are amazing makeup effects and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, I've given my life to film.
To the cinema.
To the cinema. No, it's not. But I love film. I love learning about behind the scenes stuff. I love film history, film appreciation, all that. I listen to a podcast, which is one of my favorites, other than this one, of course.
I was gonna say
Um,
it's almost as popular as this one.
it's the Tootsie to the Some Like It Hot that is this film, or that is this podcast.
That's an
Uh,
inside joke to other. If you
I-
want to understand, you have to listen to the other episodes Carly's on. So go find them.
listen to my episodes. No, but it's called How Did This Get Made? And it's just a podcast about how movies got made, and it's usually about like
Specifically
what?
bad movies, like.
But sometimes like so bad they're good, where it's like, and you're just interested in the story of like how in fact did this get made, and it's not that like, I mean, they're not like none of them are on the top 100 of any list other than maybe like top 100 worst movies of all time, but they're all, I wouldn't say they're all, some of them are not enjoyable, but a lot of times they are really enjoyable, and they're fun movies where it's like, oh, I actually really love that movie.
Right.
And, okay, this is a horrible example, but they did like an episode on The Lake House, which is Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves, and I remember being like, oh, I love that movie, and that, but it's also like, no, that's a terrible movie, and it's they kind of like talk about what happened, and they get into it, and I've also like watched a lot of great hysterical, just funny bad movies from this podcast, and it's a very fun podcast, and I've been to a couple of their live tapings. They're very fun, and this movie happened to be on there, and I listened to it not having seen the movie, and I was just like, all right, I gotta, like, everything that they're talking about, I gotta see this, like, I just gotta see this.
I
And
can't even imagine what it was like, because you didn't really tell me anything about it. I can't imagine hearing this movie described to me. Like I would have the same reaction, like, oh my god, I gotta watch this now.
Well, and there's also so much that happens in this movie that they obviously didn't have time to get to talk about, because the episodes are like an hour and a half. So
Right.
they
And I
obviously
think
can't go over
you've told me
everything.
you want to record for how long? 3.5,
At least
4, 5 hours?
5 years?
Yes, 5 years. Well, and that still won't be enough to unpack the
No.
totality of what this film has to
No,
offer.
and you've only seen the first 10 minutes.
Yes,
so you
I'm
can't even
basing what I'm
imagine.
saying off the first 10 minutes of a
Yeah.
90-minute film?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also know that 90 minutes in Dog on a Leash years is 90
Maybe,
hours.
honestly, Shawn, I think you figured out what the pacing was.
That's it.
That's what
measured
it is. It
in
feels
Dog
7
on-
times longer. But you know what
I
it
think
is?
mathematically it is.
You're
yeah.
going to watch it, and then you're going to be like, oh, I can't believe I wasted all that time. And you're be like, actually, didn't waste that much time. That's okay.
But then I'm also never going to be able to stop talking about it or thinking about it. It sounds like, and I'll be honest, you mentioned The Room to me. Like you were like,
Yes.
this is on the level of The Room.
But it's on its own
Yes.
level.
Well, I was going to say, for anyone out there listening, I'm sure you've heard of The Room. You've probably seen it. Like it's
And even if you've not seen The Room, you might have seen The Disaster Artist, which that was a pretty popular movie. And How Did This Get Made? The podcast is actually what created like that movie, The Disaster Artist. Like,
yes.
That they're bringing The Room's attention and the behind the scenes stuff, and the lead actor or not the lead, but the co-star actor who was in The Room, he wrote a book, and so that's kind of what ended up being The Disaster Artist. So
yes,
like,
yeah, great book.
Yeah.
And I mean, The Room is it's a classic. So when you were like saying like, oh yeah, prepare yourself, there are bad movies like The Room where it's just like it's an experience. It's an experience. You have to watch it. It's bad on such a transcendent level that it just becomes something even greater than a great movie could be.
Yeah.
And within 10 minutes of watching this film, or having only seen the first 10 minutes, I can already tell that this is something that if people are like, all right, I've seen The Room, the live experience, I've gone to a movie theater and done it hundreds of times and I love it, it's great, but I need the next step, like what's the next Birdemic, what's out there. I think Love on a Leash is certainly so far has the potential to be that, to be the thing that people gather and watch together, go to a theater and quote, yell at the screen. Like I think
Yeah.
we do have that possibility here.
Oh, completely. And if Love on a Leash were like some college film students like senior project and they submitted that, the teacher would not fail them, but would most likely tell the school to give them back their money and don't let them, like, make them sign a document that says they did not go here.
I thought you were going to say would like make him the teacher, make him the president
No,
of the school.
I feel like I can't imagine a single teacher who teaches any sound design would accept this, who teaches editing, lighting, the amount of Dutch angles, like, it's
I went to film school, and my senior project, the vibe was basically like, don't half-ass it, like put in the effort.
whole ass
And
it, whole
yeah,
ass
whole
it.
ass it. Put your whole ass into this. And I did. And there were
Back it
problems.
up, back it up.
Back it up. They wanted me to twerk up in front of everybody. And the
Yeah.
whole there were technical issues and stuff, but the vibe was generally, it was like a pass fail. And if it was clear that you tried, you would pass. What you're saying, and again, kind of grading on a curve here, they were very, they knew, they liked us, they knew what we'd been through.
These people tried.
Yes,
Shawn,
well, I was going to say, even those film professors would look at this and say, this is a fail. This is the first fail in the school's
I don't even
history.
think, honestly, I don't think they would want that on their record, and I don't think they would
want any trace of it.
Yeah, I don't think they would want it to be stated like, well, that person went to that film school. It'd be like, no,
Right.
we're refunding your tuition from the 4 years you've spent here, and you can have all that money back, and you just sign a piece of paper saying you don't know us.
Yeah. I love it. And you, like, the How Did This Get Made episode goes into a lot of detail about the production history, but
Yes.
you told me, so tell again, set the scene and tell the audience who made this movie and just some general behind the scenes tidbits. And we can get into more in-depth stuff in the second part when we can
Yes.
talk about specific plot points. If I think I'm being generous with that term.
Yeah.
But this was made by a 70-year-old woman.
No, I'm sorry, an octogenarian. So
Oh
in her
my
80s,
God.
yes.
Wow.
Yes, a woman in her 80s. It was her directorial debut.
Yes. And how did she get funding for this?
And this all again is in that How Did This Get Made podcast, which I highly suggest anybody who wants to know a lot about this movie listen to, because it's very funny and it's great. They've got some good stuff on there. But
don't listen to this. This will just be a spiral into darkness.
No, listen to this too. This is, extra material.
Yes,
but
yeah.
but she essentially got the funding from a church in China and had told them that it was a film about Jesus saving through his love. And I don't want to give it away, but that's not what happens in this movie at all. I will say for anybody who does want to watch this, turn up your volume, because there are some really, really great moments that are kind of quiet with some sound effects.
Yeah, there was already like a great fart sound effect.
There's some great toots.
There's a woman she was trying on a dress and she farts while she's putting it on. That was great.
Because it's too tight at first, but then she farts and it fits.
It's classic comedy.
It's
just
still
gold.
too tight, but she's able to get it on.
Right, exactly.
And then there's another scene that you haven't seen yet, Shawn.
Oh man.
And it's a lovemaking scene, and
no.
and there, honestly, this whole movie is ADR'd, so all of the audio is really bad in it. But it's a lovemaking scene, and the guy very quietly goes, "I'm sorry." So just like when you get to those moments, make sure your volume's up, because you're really gonna miss out on some, like, well, why?
And you've also mentioned to me that the lead actress in this film refuses to talk about it with
Yeah,
anybody.
She won't answer questions about
It's
it.
not a room situation where Greg Sestero, who's the guy who wrote The Disaster Artist, who was Mark in The Room.
Yes, yeah.
He
And
was
he's
able.
very much a part of, like, the reason why the Disaster Artist happened. I don't think
Yeah.
this lady wants any
No,
kind of...
she doesn't want anyone to know this happened.
like the
at all.
dog trainer or whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't know what you would call it. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
But it's just it's it's so hard to describe, and it's one of those things, like, the edits are jarring. There's
Oh,
so
yeah.
much where you're like, wait, what's happening now? And it seems like stuff is fast forwarded, and there's montages that I understand what they're meant to symbolize and the point they're trying to convey, but
they don't.
it's so confusing. And part of the reason why I understand is not only, like, I first listened to that podcast, so I had some context going into it, but also now I've probably seen it, and I'm not ashamed to say this, Shawn. I'm not.
No,
I've
you
seen
should
it.
be though. I already know you should be.
I've seen it 3.5 times.
Which half? The first or the second?
The first half. The first
Okay,
half,
okay,
of course.
okay.
Yeah. But I, in showing this movie to people when I'm there, I'm saying to them, hey, we can turn this off whenever you so choose. And
right.
The halftime, it was, like I had fallen asleep, so of course, I didn't finish it.
You were like, nobody can watch this if I'm sleeping. Like,
right.
I refuse.
I refuse. No, but the other times, it's been, hey, I can turn this off. No. I need to keep watching. And you're right.
It's hypnotic. It's hypnotic.
It's also every decision that's made, and there are just lines where you're like, wait, what now?
Yeah.
Like,
oh my
and
god.
it just keeps pulling you in, because it's like there, and you saw that one scene, up to the moment where they're in the store. It's very early on. There's some amazing blocking with some coat hangers.
Yes.
And
some framing choices that are truly revolutionary.
And it's just like, you're watching that and just being somebody who likes to talk about film and who knows about what goes into making these movies and the choices they make on set, the choices they make in the editing room, the choices they make with the script and, like, all of that stuff. And it's just like,
in this case, you're like, no choices were made.
No, but they are deliberate choices, clearly. And they're so not the correct choice.
Right.
But they're also so funny and so right, and it's
it all adds up to it's a puzzle piece in a portrait of what sounds to me to be a masterpiece.
It's like 2 + 2 = 22. No, it doesn't. But okay.
But damn it, you're right. You're right.
But that's not. I could see how you could. Okay.
I'm genuinely terrified, but I also am excited to finally.
Yeah, and we had also talked about this movie, like, there's a certain mindset you get into it when you're watching it, and it's something that, like, you don't understand, much like peyote. You kind of need... it puts you in a state that you otherwise can't get into.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And, I'm ready for that. I think I'm ready to have my conscience and my consciousness altered. Oh my God. I can't even talk. Like I said, we said this, we made a reference to this in our Tootsie episode that we recorded. Love on a Leash, opened the doors of my mind to new possibilities. And whenever I try to function while not watching the film, I fall apart. And I think this may, completing this film may, I don't know, something about me, it may unlock a door or really just ruin my entire life. I don't know. Maybe both.
I'm hoping that, in the fact that How Did This Get Made talks about it, and now you're talking about it, we're talking about it, more people will talk about it.
Yeah.
And, like, because honestly, it's just one of those specially, like, terrible things.
Right.
That somebody really did make an effort. They really made an effort. They really went for it. They really tried, and they failed so wonderfully in such a spectacular way.
it deserves your attention.
Yes, 100%. So everybody, you're welcome. And again, I'm sorry, but I'm
Yes,
but I'm
please
also
tune in
just
on
very
YouTube.
excited.
This is going to be a blast. So we will watch, and oh boy, we'll be back. I hope. We'll see.
Now available to own on video cassette.
All right, we're back. We're back. This is historic for Missing Frames, whether between takes or Missing Frames, just a regular episode. This is the official record for the longest time between the first part of an episode and the second part of an episode. It has been a full year, Carley, since we recorded the first part of Love on a Leash. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is my fault. But
it was bit.
Just a little bit, but really I know now that I was doing myself a favor, because I wasn't a year ago. I don't think I was ready for this. I needed the year of
this has changed your
emotional-
life, right?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it has. And I don't think I was prepared maturity wise, emotionally. A year ago, I it would have been the end of me. It could have been the end of me. And the other thing that I think really benefited this viewing experience was that I did get to go to LA a couple of weeks ago. And got to hang out with you, and we got to watch this together in the same room. And I think without that also it would have been a troubling experience, to say the least.
It was so much fun for me to watch you watch the movie.
Well, it was great to just be there, and your husband was there, and our dear friend Richie was there, and just to experience we kind of knew, because we'd had our conversation a year ago. You've seen this movie God knows how many times. I think you'd seen it like 10 times when we recorded part 1.
No, I said I'd seen it 3.5 times.
3.5 times. Sorry, you're right. I even just edited that. I should know better. Well, by this point, would you say you've seen it 10 times?
You know what? Since we did the first part, I had just watched it. Like, obviously, I'd seen it that many times. And I knew we were going to record the second part. So I just hadn't put it on again, because as we've talked about, this movie defies the logic of time.
Yeah.
And I just
Christopher Nolan needs to study this film. It is not bound by any laws of time or nature. Whatever we've come to know about our universe is defied by this film.
Yeah, just absolutely wild stuff.
It is it sucks you into a black hole from which there is no, like, you sit there for what is in actuality an hour and 25 minutes, but in the mental plane,
it's like 4 hours.
It is not even that short. It is much longer. It is an astonishing experience that
so we got to spend so much time together.
It was really, as you told me before we started recording, it was an attempt on your part to prolong our hangout, just this group hangout that we had. And it worked, because you really are just so immersed in this film. And it I just watched it again because, once this film takes hold, it doesn't let you go. And I wanted it to be fresh in my mind.
Crazier than you can imagine. Like,
yes, I had to. Well, I wanted to just try to understand how it manipulated time. So it really does baffle me. But it is like the film is about 2,000 films piled into a single film. So I think in a
You're
way
not wrong.
that messes with you. You know, we talk a lot about the art of filmmaking, and I think
Mhm.
some people who maybe listen to this think like, wow, God, you know, Shawn and Carley, they really understand like the story structure and the concept of storytelling. But let me tell you what, um, watch this movie and you'll realize that you too understand it. That psychologically, we all understand, we're all programmed to understand, oh, a movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we feel it when a movie kind of
Does
goes
not.
against the grain and goes against that
Yeah.
structure. But let me tell you what, Love on a Leash has about 5,000, I said 2,000, but it's more than that. It's 5,000 mini movies within it. And that causes it to feel longer and longer because you are
Yes.
being bombarded with all these things.
But also, like, okay, that, well, like, should we talk about, like, what the plot is or anything, or, like,
Let's try. I would love to hear us try to explain what this movie is about.
okay, so,
Let's just say on the let's this is the first layer of the many layered onion we're about to
on
peel
the
into.
whole,
On the whole, this is the surface level. What is this movie about? Just the
a
like the log line.
a man has been turned into a dog and needs to find true love to be a man forever.
Yes. That is on the tip, the very tippy top of the iceberg what this movie
The
is about.
tippiest of the tops.
Yes, this is a dog that talks, but nobody hears him. It's just an inner monologue.
We hear him.
We hear him. Yes,
Yes,
we
and
hear
so
him.
like we said earlier, the first like 2 minutes almost is dead quiet, which is hysterical because that's clearly where the score was, and there is a composer in the credits, but there is
Credited,
no
yes.
music.
I
Like-
love that if you go through and trust me, you're gonna have plenty of time while watching this movie to do a plethora of
research.
things. Yes.
No, but
So
Blinken, you
go-
missed something.
it's true, that is true. So be careful. You never know what you might miss. But you can go to IMDb, go to YouTube, look at the
Yes.
comments, look at the reviews, and you know some of my favorite comments are like praising the score of the film. Like, oh, the score is like
Magnificent.
masterful, nothing I've ever heard before. There is no score.
I feel like score is such an underappreciated thing from just people in general because it's not something you think about. You take it for granted.
Like
but
story
when it
structure.
is missing, boy. And then, so the first line you hear in the movie is the dog saying that, like, oh, look, there's girls.
Yes, the horn dog, desperate to get laid, and no joke, it's a jump scare when this dog
Yes.
starts speaking
Just starts screaming.
you're
at
like
you.
you're just like wondering like where's the sound. And you warned me, and we talked about it a year ago in part one, that it's not something wrong with your computer, although there was something wrong
There
with our
was
speaker.
actually this time because I was like, wait, no, he should have been
At this
talking
point,
by
there
now.
is talking.
Yeah.
we
I was
had
like,
to we had to
he's
figure out the
We
sound
did.
bar
There was
hadn't
something
synced.
wrong. So
Yes.
if you see him starting to interact with people and you're still not hearing something, maybe check something out.
Check
But
your
yeah.
speakers. Make sure it's working okay. But definitely, like, if you have your headphones on, don't turn it up all the way. Like, don't, the dog will like give you an absolute heart attack when it
Yes.
starts talking, because
And
of
it's
course
a crazy voice.
it's a crazy voice. It's a comedian. Let me he's the only person, if you go to the Love on a Leash Wikipedia page, which frankly does not have enough
We should do some
detail.
editing. We should do a little bit of modifying.
We need to get in here, and it has a synopsis that is only 1, 2, 3 sentences long, and is basically how you described the film, but it doesn't remotely capture the breadth and the
You
vast
could not.
wealth of material this film has to offer. But this is all to say, the gentleman who plays the dog's voice, this man is the only linkable actor on the Wikipedia page. His name is Stephen Kramer Glickman, and he is I guess a comedian.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard a thing that he was supposed to be played by Ari Shafir, another comedian, and I guess this guy was like the doorman at a comedy club, and Ari like didn't want to do it and asked him if he wanted to. That I
he
could
was
be
he was like, this is my big break. You know what, Carly? Even if you are so wrong, you're not.
I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. I
This
don't
is
think I'm making that up.
this is
But
the
go
Wiki.
ahead and fact.
There is absolutely nothing on the Wikipedia page or IMDb to contradict what you're saying. So
Okay, then yeah.
let's just say you're right, and I want
Prove
to
me
believe
wrong.
that
Yeah.
because he does sound like that. And to be fair to Mr. Glickman, he is reading the lines of an 80-year-old writer director,
Mhm.
Fain Tian, I guess is how you would say her name. Um, she English is not her first language. She wrote the script in Chinese and translated it, I think, with just like a Google translator or
Of
like
course.
a free software, and didn't like bother to listen to the English speaking actors who were telling her, hey, this
Mhm.
sounds a little weird. Can we at least just make it sound slightly normal? She was like, no,
No.
you were reading this as my artistic vision.
It's perfect.
It is perfect, and you will read it as I wrote it. So
And
to
that's
be
the thing. Do you know anything? I didn't look into this, but is this some kind of like folk tale?
like a Chinese folk tale about
He
like some sort of lore where a
or like
dog,
a
like
because he's a prince. You know what I mean?
they call
Like
him Prince, yeah.
they and yeah, I guess yeah, she does call him prince. Maybe yeah, because it could be some kind of like fairy tale kind of thing,
Yes, yeah. And
like
well,
the
and
the princess and the frog. And
yes, it could be the Princess and the Frog. I think
princess
Disney
and the dog.
owes Fen Tian some royalties for sure. And well,
Like
also, and the excessive green that our hero
oh
Lisa
gosh.
has in her home and her
Everything is
clothing,
green. Her
it
car.
that's a creative choice, Carly.
And
That is a creative
of
choice
course,
on
it has to
behalf.
symbolize.
It symbolizes purity.
Yeah.
And because
Yes.
she is a pure virgin who has never known the love or the touch of a man, but then when she does know the touch of a man, she still wears green all the time. So I don't know what the symbolism there is, but that was the intention apparently.
Also, like her going, please God, find me a man. Like
She starts the film as a devout Christian and then very quickly becomes like a depressed sex maniac.
it is so weird the scene where he first discovers her in the park and her friend is like making fun of her for being a virgin, and
Yeah.
she's like ha ha ha, like do it already.
She's
But
like,
like
I got this guy on the weekends. I got this
yeah,
guy, and
I got different guys for different things.
yeah,
Like, and
different hoes and different area codes, and
all of the other women in this movie are so horned up, except for her, right?
yes,
Like
even her mom. Her
her
mom calls
mom.
her in a very sinister backlit shot, like she's in a rocking chair, and she's like, "Hello, Lisa,"
Yes,
and it's like,
so
is this a
weird.
horror film?
Well, you know
And
what? Not all of the women are horned up because the mom of the one dude that she goes to meet,
that's right.
that old
Is
lady,
is basically Norman Bates's mom from Psycho. And
it is so weird. That's a whole other movie.
yes. Well, that's the thing. So the movie, okay, so we kick things off and it's kind of
Okay.
like Love on a Leash. Okay, it's a dog, a talking dog. It's this
He
woman
talks to a lake, a
talks
pond,
to a lake. The
a
lake
bubbling
tells
spring.
yes, which tells him, which I believe is played by
The director,
director,
yes.
So the lake tells him his mission is to find true love, and he decides Lisa, this virgin Christian uptight lady, is the one for him. He says the line, the classic beloved line from this wonderful film is she's like, please God, help me find a man, and he says, you don't need a God, I'm already here, or something like that. What a line. What a piece of dialogue. So the movie,
and then he follows her, or he like is already at a gas station that she's pulling into, and he's late, he's all dirty, and like
he acts like he's a and he is a homeless dog, but then he's like, let me really lay it on thick, and she's like, oh, even though I hated you like a second before, and now I love you, and I'm gonna bring you home.
Bring you home and then give you a bath. And the amount of time that happens from when she pulls into the gas station until when she's done giving him a bath is maybe like 23 seconds.
Yes, but a whole lifetime has been lived.
They've traveled.
Not
you
only
see
by
people crossing
them,
the street.
yes,
Like
it's a different time of day,
it
and
is so wild.
and by that point you're clicking on the time code, and you're like, it has to have been an hour.
No,
and
it's
you
been
were
like
you were
5
5 minutes into the movie, and that's when you know something is horribly
Something's
wrong.
amiss.
Something
You know what?
is
It might be the score. The absence
score's
of
missing.
score really
That
messes with our timing.
it is definitely part of it. I don't think you're wrong, but it is. I do remember us checking the time and just being like, no, we can't have an hour and 20 minutes left.
Yeah, we surely do.
It's true. Many of the comments on YouTube reference this, where it's like, I have been watching this not for an hour and 24 minutes. It's been 5 days. I refuse to believe it's been shorter than that.
Yeah,
and it's
and
true.
She gets asked out on dates like in the weirdest and creepiest ways. And the montage of her like going out on all of these dates with these two guys is literally just like a couple shots of her putting on clothes and looking in the mirror and then throwing them like at the dog, and he's like, oh, and there's no talking, and it's totally silent, and
And
it's
it's in
just that.
it's in fast forward too, isn't it? Like,
Yes,
there's like a
and then
montage.
do you remember we were sitting in the living room, and she's going on this date, and like she shows up, they show them for literally a frame sitting down, and then the next moment her friend is calling being like, so how was the date? I was
Yes.
like, yeah, we just saw her date, did you see that?
And we did, it
And
was
both
at least
you
there.
and Richie were like, what
just happened? Well, it is that moment where you feel like, because time is so truncated and meaningless in this movie, because like scenes are cut together with no rhyme or reason. Like, it will jump from like, she's outside and suddenly she's inside talking on the phone to somebody, and you're like, wait, what? How did she get there? Where is she? Is she in her house? Like, what's going on?
and
But like,
who is that?
who is she? Who is she talking to? But like the first I want to say hour of the film, which is only maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, is her like getting hit on at work by her coworker, who's like a sweet Asian man who
He's
turns
the one
out
who ends up asking her out. He opens those the coat hangers and peeps his head through.
yes, he asks her out and reveals later on, about 5 hours into the movie, that he's a gay man, but needs to marry her, and
for
she
his
needs
inheritance.
yes, for his inheritance, and his family won't understand.
And she's perfect, and she can sleep with anybody she wants.
Yes, and he will, we'll do. He's like, I won't touch you if you don't want me to. This
I'll buy you all the dresses
Yes.
and diamonds and
Yes.
furs.
And let's also be clear, this man works at a clothing store. So where is he getting all
Like,
this
what
money
is?
from?
Well, he's not going to be able to get his inheritance until he gets married. So he's
right.
probably living on his own, and he obviously thinking he was going to have just a bunch of money from his inheritance, didn't do anything
Yes.
to invest in his future. So he's
Right.
stuck working this retail job.
So he is one of many potential suitors that this poor woman
Ugh.
meets in the first like 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah, and then the second guy comes up to her asking about a dress for his wife.
yeah, quote unquote.
But I'm sorry, how is that a pickup line?
Yes, he's like, oh, she looks just like you, and he's,
Yeah,
what does she
whatever
like to wear?
you like.
Whatever you like, and
It's like,
it's incredibly
you were gonna
disturbing.
go out with that man,
And then she does go out with him, and it's even more disturbing and uncomfortable.
that is the most disturbing, and I want a whole movie. Like, they could make a great horror movie off of the mother and the son. She's the OBGYN who will be performing.
she says, I've done it before. I will tie your tubes. And
any man or any woman that my son marries needs to agree to not have any children of her own, because he already has a son who's being raised the latest and updated nutrition and science, and he
Yes.
will be our president one day.
Yeah. Yes. So the movie starts off and you're like, okay, so there's a talking dog who needs to fall in love or find the meaning of love. But then it goes on this series of like, oh, okay, so now it's about this
The dates that
woman.
she's going
Yeah,
on.
she's going on a bunch of
And the
dates with like
horrible
weird
suitors that are
weird
teeing up this dog to be a better option.
right. And the dog, meanwhile, is like, I'm right here, baby.
Hey, yeah. And
And
he's so mean to her.
the
He calls
dog,
her like stupid and
there's
ugly.
and when she jumps in the pool, he calls her a pizza face brick
Cinder block.
cinder. So it's like and that's after he
That
turns
has
into a
to be
human,
a translation
and it's supposed
issue. That has to be. Knowing that she wrote it in, what was it, like Mandarin or Cantonese?
I
like,
would love to know what what it is in its original Cantonese. That would be incredible. I also know that that Stephen Kramer Glickman, our hero who plays the voice of the dog, by the end of the film apparently like just gave up and started improvising things, and that feels like something he could have improvised.
oh, the whole thing.
But it
The
does.
songs that he sings, I'm just a
They're
dog.
yeah, it's like it is like that moment where you're watching a stand-up show and the comedian is like desperate for laughs and like
Desperate.
really reaching, and he's like, I'm gonna start singing things, but I'm not funny because I'm a dog. And you're hoping he finds the punchline somewhere
He
in this
doesn't.
moment, but it's painful and you have to just sit with it
For
and
6
suffer.
hours.
For 6 hours. Every single moment, every single
But
joke feels like
also,
that.
it was such a train wreck that, like I said, you can't look away from it.
No,
It
and
is
that's
hypnotizing because
well,
it's so confounding. You're trying to make sense of stuff that you're like, I can read this, but I don't know what I'm reading.
yes, but that's so the movie starts with like she's desperate to find a man, but she's like depressed and lonely, and all the men in her life are creepers. Then her manager shows up at her house drunk and like basically tries to assault her
Because his wife hasn't put out in years.
Yes, he's like, my wife. Oh, we
I'm
just
not
don't
even
love each other.
attracted to her.
I don't. He was like, he goes through a list of things. He's like, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
attracted to her. Also,
See,
she
that's-
won't have sex with me. And it's like, wow, what is going on? Why did this movie turn from like dog comedy to like sexual assault drama?
Well, and
This is
also
weird.
the him delivering all of those lines, just like conceptually, before he's about to do that, like, what does he think she's gonna sympathize and be like, okay?
Oh,
you
well,
know?
when you put it that way, yeah, sure, why not? So, so the dog rescues her from this really horrifying situation.
Attack, yeah.
Yes, he on his way out the door says, "You're fired," and she goes, "I quit."
Yeah,
And that's very intense. And I don't remember at
Which
what
is
point.
ridiculous because she should be fired so she could get the unemployment. Like,
Yes, she's really like she should allow for this
another-
to happen.
just let him fire you and then not only get wrongful termination but unemployment. Like, what are you doing, lady?
You would think she would go with that, but of course we're not
she
dealing.
proves time and time again she's a bit of a dunce.
We are not dealing with the rules of reality or physics in
Also,
the
her
ways that we
hair-
know them.
Her hair is maddening.
Well, it's maddening even more because she is like the apparently like the cream of the crop. Like she is the unattainable, beautiful, amazing woman that every single man in this movie desperately wants to bang. And she is just like really like emotionally, physically, like not there. Like there's no
No.
coherence. And maybe they couldn't afford hair and makeup on this set. I'm looking at the Wikipedia
She
page
couldn't
and
have
not
done it.
finding anything.
She clearly did not have access to any kind of a mirror where she could have like held another mirror up to look behind her just to see what was going on in the back of her head, because that was wild.
Right. So she I'm also like looking at her biography. It turns out she was involved in local commercials, television, and film in Atlanta, Georgia. So she I am hoping is still here and I can find her.
Oh my God, if you can. I know we've talked about this, that like she won't really talk about the movie, but if you
No.
can get her to talk about it,
that would be a dream.
maybe
come
time
true.
has healed that wound enough where she can revisit it.
It's been 1 year since we started this conversation. It's been
Yeah.
13, 14 years since the movie came out. And I
Ugh.
think even longer since they filmed it, because I know it took a few years for
That
this movie to eventually just get dumped on Amazon.
maybe that's how it like warps time. Is she
Yeah.
managed to like, because it took so long to make, somehow
Yes.
harnessed some kind of like
It somehow made like trans-dimensional like curse of a film. Like
Gosh.
if you want to believe in magic, or you want to believe in like something outside of the realm of reality, watch this movie, because it does defy everything you've come to know and understand about how we perceive reality and time. And I think something has been locked into it. So I think you're onto something there. But yeah, the first 30 minutes is her being assaulted by men, the dog cracking, making jokes, and then I don't know, she overdoses on pills, and tries to kill herself. The dog somehow convinces a driver on the road to come rescue her, bring her to the hospital, and then I think she goes home that later that day and is completely fine. Based on how
Yeah.
time is working in this movie.
And Prince isn't there anymore.
No.
And then she like starts looking for him, and then he comes back, and she's decided that he can stay with her.
Yes, she's like, I'm not
And
gonna love any man. I'm just gonna love you, my dog. You're the
yeah,
only man I need. And then the movie
takes
transcends genres to be that triggers her love, her willingness to love him and him alone, triggers a literal transformation.
Yes.
And he turns into a naked man.
A naked man.
Who looks like he should have been.
He could be a golden retriever.
He could be a golden retriever. He really looks like he should have been like one of the like background vampires in Twilight.
Oh,
like
for sure.
He
has a little too tan for that.
He's a little too tan, but he has that kind of blank face, like staring off into the distance, like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what movie I'm in. But it turns out that this is who he really is. His real name, I think, at one point is said to be Alvin Flang. I don't know if that's a joke. That the improvist Stephen Kramer
never corrects her.
Yeah,
and
she's
she
like,
always
"Oh,
calls him
Prince."
Prince.
And he's like, "Sure, I'm Prince now." But
Yeah.
she's freaked out because she's like, "Oh my God, like what happened?" But then very quickly is like, "Well, I guess we should sleep together."
Immediately.
And
because she loves him. It's true
she
love.
loves him.
And that's when he whispers, "I'm sorry."
He's during their love scene, he, in a moment of I guess ecstasy, she like shouts out into the night. She goes, "Ah," and he goes, "I'm sorry." and that's the end of the scene.
I can't imagine that it's a moment of ecstasy if she's shouting that, and he's supposed to be a womanizer, and
Right.
he's saying, "I'm sorry." Like, he must have done something wrong.
Something horrible must have happened. We don't know. We never find out what he's sorry for, because the movie quickly cuts to its next scene. I mean, the pace is just so, they want to keep things up and zippy and fun. Like,
Yes.
the audience, you want to keep them engaged, and boy, do they. But so the two of them, and this is, for all the faults and the traumas this film has inflicted upon society, there's a really beautiful love story within this love story that we're watching. Well, it's the story of Jana Camp, I guess is her name, and Anise Camo, the actor and the actress.
Oh, yes.
Did in fact fall in love with each other.
Yes.
on
Behind the
this film.
scenes, yes.
This is how they met, and they somehow, like, I guess their love is what carried them through.
It would have to be.
this is something I feel the audience needs to know going into it, because it's one
Yes.
of the only things that makes their
Because you
relationship
can tell
bearable.
there is real chemistry of them kissing
Yes.
to
Yes.
a degree at times, but then there's other times where whatever it is they're doing, it's like, this is awkward.
Yeah, they take wedding
when
photos.
when she puts that leash around him, that the dog leash,
Yes, as a
a-
sexy, like, ooh,
and
yeah,
like,
like,
oh, come here, and it's just
yeah.
like, are you kidding me?
Well, what
And
are they
then
trying to say? That it's like she
that's
wants
her
to bang him
kink.
as a dog? Yeah, like it's like this whole time that's what
Oh,
she
and then they get
likes.
into fights when he's a dog, and she just yelling at him.
Yeah, because she's like, what the hell is the I want to be able to take you places. But here's the
It's
thing.
not his fault.
It's not his fault. He's not he hasn't he's just using her according
Right.
to the
The
director,
lake, the
pond,
pond.
the pond. He's using her for
Right.
his
It'd be-
sexcapades.
He needs to provide. He needs
Needs
to
to
be a good
provide.
husband and
And
provide
until he does, he will live his days as a dog,
as a
but his
dog.
nights he will be a man.
Yeah, and so he gets he finds out about a dog acting agency.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. So it's a guy early on in the movie.
This movie is so ridiculous.
This guy, I mean, but let's be clear. This is pretty brilliant. I mean, this is a callback I did not see coming, because in the beginning, close to the beginning of or whatever, I truly don't know if it was near the beginning or in the middle. I cannot tell you. But at some point close to the beginning of the film, she goes out shopping and the dog like ruins these clothes and then like starts performing for people and they clap. And then there's this guy who's like, I'm a dog agent model representative. I want to represent
Well,
your
yeah,
dog. And gives him a card and she's like, go away. And he takes the card. And then like, you're like, I guess this is never coming back again until that guy comes back with the woman in the dressing room who farted.
Yeah.
She's like, I need a dog to represent
This one's
business.
too ethnic.
Yeah.
Like,
no dog will work except for this dog. So he gets a job being a dog model.
and it's because he can tell the difference in colors. Like,
Yes.
that's what happened at first is, like, they were looking at all the clothes and she picks out that awful top and the guy, like, yells at her, hey, your dog's messing up my clothes. No, he's
Right.
not. He's helping pick them out. He
Yes.
can't do that. Dogs can't do that. Here, Prince, find me something that goes with this. And he's like, this one's tacky too. Like, and then everyone's like, oh, amazing.
Whoa.
So then to prove to that lady that he's a talented dog, the talent agent goes, okay, dog, pick up the indigo phone. And
Yes.
he's got like 4 phones on his desk.
And all of them have bones attached to them for some reason.
So that the dog, because he's a dog agent.
Right. He's a dog. Oh yeah, you're right.
You know, it makes sense. It's on theme.
I think, yeah, he knows what's going. He knows how to get his people working. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. Yeah, so he gets the job.
Yeah, but then here's another thing. So the whole point of him being a dog and remaining a dog during the day.
Oh, it's only during the day. Yeah.
Well, but it's a punishment for him, right? It's
right.
like, you have not learned to love. But ultimately, the only one who really suffers is
It's
Lisa, who is miserable because she
time.
cannot take him out. So what the curse? What's the lesson that he's supposed to be learning? If like he's supposed to be, he can't care for her in the way he's supposed to because she needs him to be a man all the time, but he can't be because the curse is working against what Lisa wants.
But she also so my thing is, okay, I'm gonna be a little anti-Lisa right now, but my thing is, he was told by the pond. I can't believe I'm saying. He was told by the pond that he needed to provide for his wife and provide for her regardless of him being a dog. He finds an opportunity where he can get a job as a dog actor. And he tells Lisa about it. Let me do this. And she's like, absolutely not. So she's kind of not allowing him to be prosperous in a way that he can be in the form that he's stuck in.
Yeah, the motivations for these characters are incredibly muddled, to say the least. It doesn't make remote, like, on both levels. It's like, okay, so he's making money, which is supporting her,
And
and
she
that's
gets
not good
so
enough.
mad at
But yeah, and
him
then she gets mad at him, and so it's
when
like on.
he brings her a dress, another green dress that they saw in the window, and she's like, "Did you steal it?" Nobody would get upset with a dog. He's like, "No, I bought it." Well, how do you have any money? You don't have any money. Like, how, and she's like getting
Yeah.
upset with him. And he did buy it with the money that he earned, which is also hilarious that they pay the dog cash.
You know what's even funnier? Didn't even think about it. Didn't think about that at all. I
He
was just
shows
like,
up
sure,
by
he
himself,
pays.
no kind of paperwork whatsoever. Yeah, the dog will be there tomorrow at this time. No problem.
They
Give
just
him
give him a
money.
little bundle of 20s that he carries in his mouth. Like
Great.
I never. It says a lot about this movie that I never. The last thing on my mind was the logistical. The logistical element of how did they pay the dog the money? How did the dog purchase things? That wasn't on my mind. It wasn't something I thought about.
It is so weird. And like she finds out about it because she sees him acting in like a ninja commercial.
Yes, with China Girl by David Bowie. Somehow
Oh, right.
they
That
couldn't
music is
afford
in there.
they couldn't afford a score, but they could afford a David Bowie song.
There's no way. There's
it is as I said, I don't.
It's
The laws
confounding.
of space time cannot like. I don't even trying to think about it right now. Is it hurts? It hurts. I can't put a finger on it. I can't understand it, but it's there. There's a David Bowie song in this movie. There's no other music in this film.
Yeah. And yet there's a composer credited.
But David Bowie
You know
doesn't
what?
get credited.
This is not a movie to watch on a plane. Like
No,
right?
Good advice. Good
yeah,
advice.
like do not
Important safety
if you
tip.
are trying to like get past some time, this is not it.
No,
like,
this will you will suffer like nothing
but at the
you've
same
ever
time,
felt before.
it changes. So you've lived your life this whole time, Shawn, before having experienced this
It's
eye
true.
opening.
It's true.
Just I don't even know what to call it. But now post this experience,
Yeah.
I feel like the world is a little different. Is
I
it
feel
not?
like yeah, for sure. I'm looking at things differently. I am feeling
Like it's okay to fail sometimes.
It's a You know what? You can follow your dreams. You can
Right
make
off
a
a cliff.
movie. You can follow your dreams right off the cliff. You can convince a church in China to fund your God-fearing movie about a dog, a talking
In
dog.
your 80s.
In your 80s. This woman did it. This woman's probably, is she still alive? Can we get her on the podcast? Because
Oh my
she must be what, 95 now?
Ish? Because I don't know what in her 80s she was. I know she was in her 80s. I don't know the actual age, if it was like 81, 82, whatever.
Okay.
So she could be a little older than that.
There's another film called Forbidden Kiss that she made.
Well, I think
born in 1939. Okay, so she's 85 now.
She's 85 now?
Yeah, and presumably still alive.
Well, that's interesting, because I thought they said she was like in her 80s when she made the film.
64 okay. Oh, I found her Love on a Leash bio. This is a PDF online just by searching. Okay, this is the incredible research we do. This is the first sentence. 64-year-old Fin Tian compares herself to an infertile woman who, in her attempt to get pregnant, has tried everything from Western medicine, herbal remedies, even surgery. Quote,
this
finally
is to do
knowing
with the movie?
joy. No, this is the first sentence of her bio, I presume.
Okay.
That's it. It says even surgery, finally knowing the joy of hearing her first baby's cry. I don't know.
Wait, so she had children or no?
She says she's comparing herself, but I don't know. Okay,
I'm
let me
confused.
read this
That's
again.
just as
Let me read this again,
confounding.
ladies and gentlemen. Let me try to
Okay, yeah.
reading this sentence is about, if you haven't seen Love on a Leash, is it kind of similar to what the experience of watching it is. So let me read this again.
Okay.
64-year-old Fen Tian compares herself to an infertile woman who, in her attempt to get pregnant, has tried everything from Western medicine, herbal remedies, even surgery, finally knowing the joy of hearing her first baby's cry. I think what this sentence
What
is
does
trying
that
to say
mean?
is her experience of finally directing a film is comparable to the experience of a woman
Oh.
who desperately wants to get pregnant,
I
finally
don't think
getting
that's
pregnant.
true.
I don't think it's true either. And
think-
the sentence,
So
the
she
way
was
it's
in her 60s when she made this.
yes, and now
Okay.
she's in her 80s.
Well, then a little less forgivable, because had she been in her 80s, I feel like that made it a little more okay.
It did, didn't it? Now it feels a
Now
little.
it's like, I'm
I
sorry.
feel a little
what?
dirtier having watched
Now
it.
I'm upset. Now I'm sorry, everybody. I was wrong.
I think today, okay, she can never thank her cast and crew enough, and then in parentheses, nor her credit card company, but she is most grateful to her
What?
seven investors who risked
Ah.
their personal savings to make her dream come
Oh
true.
my God. Did they get it back?
I don't know. The last sentence is a quote from her. Would you like me to read this? This is the last sentence of
Obviously.
this.
Yes, please.
The new baby is in front of you. Yes, not perfect and maybe even less than average, but is your baby, and it depends on you for life.
What?
This is okay. This is a lot of responsibility. I'm feeling a lot of emotion. I feel a lot of stress right now and anxiety about this.
I
This is a
don't like
movie.
that.
I feel a lot of responsibility to this movie now that I didn't feel before, but now that I know she was 64 and compares it to the experience of being pregnant for the first time, and that
And that this is an unlikable, unwanted baby, but it's
yes,
before us. So
that
love
she's
it.
now hoisting onto us, like to say you are now responsible for this, is, frankly kind of impressive. The level
Do
of
you
manipulation.
understand why I was like, you got to see this?
Oh, this is like, we talked about it a little bit, but it truly is like one of these movies where, again, you have to face the reality that if you go into a movie theater to watch this at a special midnight screening, you are going to be in that theater for the rest of your known
Your
life.
life. Yeah.
Life as you understand it.
Yeah, if you ever like, gosh, I hope this night lasts forever, watch this movie.
Yes. So, but I do think really this is on that level of like, it should be a midnight movie. It's one of those movies that you go to the movie theater, like The Room, to experience in a theater with a crowd of people who know and love it.
Yes.
It is that kind of movie for sure, but it does also have, like, The Room certainly drags at points, but not in this, like, not like this. This is a strange.
But The Room also has not like this, but a lot of jarring edits and like ADR issues.
Yes. So it is comparable to that. It is a midnight movie that is definitely something you sit around with a group of friends and you watch,
laugh at.
like, you laugh at it. You will have fun, but you will also like find yourself asking questions.
Oh my gosh, and
the meaning.
So she tries to get married to him, like, actually, because they did their like whatever wedding ceremony where they took all those pictures. Which, who took the photos?
Good
Right?
question. The spirit of the pond.
Also, yeah, and he's like living in her house with him, and her friend comes over and is all upset and is like mad that she's hiding this man, but she's been like trying to get her to like bang somebody, and that was weird.
Yes.
And very like, what is even happening right now? She's like, I'm so mad at you that you're sleeping with somebody. I don't even know who you are. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Right. Yes.
And then so she's like gonna go get married, and he doesn't show up because it's sunny out, it's the daytime, and her mom's weird friend we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah. There
take
is
you to go
another.
get
There's a
over him.
whole. Yeah, there's a whole other plot where the mom suddenly becomes very desperate, and her mom's friend, who's like Russian, I think,
And
like
she's like an oracle or
yeah,
something.
very cartoonish and like, yes, I will bring you a man, and
It is, yeah, and he doesn't show to any of that. And then they take her to go to like that restaurant to go dancing, and they
and-
pay a couple guys to like fight over her.
right, yes, yeah, and so that all happens in the midst of like, they. This is all in the midst of, for some reason, the prince is hiding the fact that he turns it like they're desperate. They
Nobody
can't let
knows
them
that he's a
find out.
dog.
Yes,
Yeah.
they can't, and they can't let them find out, because
For
if they
some
find
reason,
out,
she doesn't even want to tell anybody.
yes, she doesn't want to just be like, look, I'm in love with this guy, but he happens to also turn into a dog. Like,
It's
for
just
whatever
not
reason.
nobody said anything that would be a problem for them. I mean, I imagine it would be a problem for some, but like
They're weird and kinky already, so I have a feeling
you
it would be
think
okay.
that they would be like, well, it's better than nothing, because
Right?
it's better than the gay man. Which honestly, I think he probably would have been the best husband, and
Yeah,
it's
he
better.
was pretty sweet. Yeah,
And he was maybe the best actor. That
yes.
performance he gave when he was begging her to be his wife, I was like, wow, that's actually pretty
I felt
good.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
my heart went out to him. I was like,
But
oh,
then the
wow.
other creepy guy with the Dr. Kevorkian mom, like, so, well, okay, like if those are your other two options, you got this guy, he's a dog half the time. Who cares what man isn't a dog half the time? You know what I mean? Like,
Right, exactly.
I feel like there was something they could have. She didn't even try and tell anybody, and then gets
No.
mad at him that he can't be there, and then everyone else is mad at him that he's not there, and she's kind of like, again, I'm gonna be a little anti-Lisa here. She's kind of being the crappy one in the relationship.
She is, because she's like, why can't you be this way? And he's like, I already explained it to you. I
talked to the pond.
I talked to the pond. The pond explained everything. You should know by now. There isn't a whole lot of logic to this. There is no reason to this. So it doesn't need to make sense.
Yeah, and then she convinces him to come to her new boss's pool party,
yes,
barbecue, and he's like,
it's gonna
no,
be a cloudy.
I can't.
It's gonna be a cloudy day. It's gonna be a cloudy day. You'll be able to come during the day because the sun won't.
And
be
he's
out.
like, well, no, but if the clouds clear, she's like, please, please. So he does, and of course he turns into a dog in front of everybody.
Right,
and he is humiliated.
She screams, like her reaction is immediate screaming and then
jumping
flinging herself into the pool. There is no whether it's the editing choice. She just flings herself into the pool, screaming at the top of her lungs.
Oh, and also her hair is short at this point, right? Because they showed that some time has passed.
Yes, so that happens.
Which that to me is really funny, because usually it's the opposite. Usually, because like you could cut your hair at any moment, like that could be the next day. In this movie, it could be the next minute.
It could be the next year.
They
it could
do time passing as a haircut, not as your hair growing.
Right. So at some point, I think they realize their love for each other in a pure way that turns him. It doesn't turn him into a man.
No.
He runs down the road.
He's still a dog. And he runs down the street and gets hit by a car.
Yes. So it's a moment of realization and revelation, like, oh, we love each other and it's okay. Then he gets hit by a car and dies. And then
they put some fake blood on the dog just laying in the street.
Although
he's
this
not
dog
dead. He's fine.
This dog, yes, they did not kill an actual dog.
And they don't even show the dog getting hit. You just see a dog laying in the street with paint on its face.
Yes. And it's also like, I feel bad for this dog, but the dog is clearly having the time of its life.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There's that. It's very, very happy in every situation.
Yes.
So the movie, you're like, this cannot be
It
the
must
end of
be
the movie,
over.
but also it has to be, right?
And it's
Oh
not.
no,
I
it
think they're still, like-
flashes forward. It flashes forward years. Now it
And they
doesn't
don't
specify
say how many years, but her
No, they
hair
don't.
is so gray.
Very gray. She is an old maid now. She's still living in the same house.
apartment.
And her slutty friend, who also has broken up with her, like they had an argument because her friend is mad at her for not telling her about the boyfriend
Right.
she's
About
banging.
sleeping with somebody.
Right. She's like, you slept with him and you didn't tell me. But it's like,
Yeah.
aren't you supposed to be happy that she's sleeping? Don't you want her to be sleeping?
Aren't you
What?
supposed to be like, girl, let me get out of here.
Yeah,
Didn't know you had a
exactly.
dick appointment.
Yeah,
Like, because that's how
exactly.
she was acting.
Yes, but suddenly she has like a change of heart, and I guess they don't speak
Yes.
to each other for
Ever
an
anymore.
unspecified amount of years. But then she shows up with 5 children at
Who
this
are,
house. She was
like-
like, "Oh, you're still here,
But
you're all
none
my
of them are
children."
older than like 6.
5. So they are these 2 women, these friends are extraordinarily old, but all of these kids are somehow the same age, and none of them are older than 5. So there's lots of questions.
It's so weird because it's like, well, if they're supposed to be like, I see. That's why I thought if this lady were 80, it would make more sense. But if she's 60, I'm thinking that that Lisa is supposed to be at least in her 60s with how
Yes.
great her hair
Yes.
is.
So yeah, and they talk to each other as if like, they are nearing the ends of their lives.
Which
And-
means her friend must have had this baby at like 55.
She not only that, but she had 5 babies at the same
Yes.
time because they are all the same age.
Well,
So
I guess
okay,
that's truer for like IVF. You're more likely to have multiples, so maybe
Sure.
that's what happens.
sure, why not? So her and Lisa have a heart to heart where Lisa realizes, she's like, it was my fault. I didn't accept him for who he was, and
I
my
treated
love was
him like a
selfish.
dog.
A dog, and and then she's like, but I keep hoping he'll come back. And her friend's like, well,
And
he
she's got all
won't be
these photos of them everywhere.
Yes, but her friend, who was already a Debbie Downer to begin
Yes.
with, which is why they stopped talking, is then like, well, no, sweetie, if you're
Yeah.
doing the math correctly, your hubby is gonna be like 15. Well, we don't know. She's
He's a
like, he's gonna
child.
be a kid, is
Yeah.
what she implies. So it's been 10 years, so at the very least she should be 40. Looks like she's 60 something.
But she was supposed to be like in her 20s.
Yes,
So if it's only been 10 years, she should only be like 30.
right. So okay, so then after this traumatic reopening of wounds and all of
Right.
this stuff, he does show up. Prince shows up
He
with
shows
a
up.
wig and dressed in
Oh,
clothes that
God.
I think are supposed to suggest he's a 13-year-old
I think
or
so.
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why
But played
did
by
he
this
show up
played by the
again,
same
though?
actor.
Do you remember? Was
No,
it
'cause-
because of the advertisement?
Yes, he was like, the
Okay.
advertisement, I had to come, but it's like, you
I
knew how to
felt
get
I
there as
knew
a
this
dog.
place.
Like, yeah, yeah, he comes over, but he remembers everything, but he's also like, yes, I don't know if he explains it. By this point, I'm
And
like
she's all
I'm sitting in a
"Prince!"
pile of my own excrement and drooling, and I don't know what's happening. And so I don't know when the last time I went to the bathroom was. And so, but like, she's like, oh yes, I remember you.
I remember
And he's like, Lisa, I love you. And they
kiss.
hug, they kiss, and then he turns into an old man.
Yes. Then
Which-
he ages.
Which again, it feels like another cosmic joke on the part of the lake lady,
Oh,
who
God.
it's like, why wouldn't Lisa turn young and then they
She's
could live
like
their lives
Ursula.
together?
She is, you know.
Yes. So it's just,
There's
it doesn't
a lot
make
of
sense.
catch-22s with her grant your wishes. Like,
Right. And so Lisa and Prince get married by themselves in the middle of somebody's backyard. They're both old, they're both happy, and then Lisa takes her green scarf and flings it around his neck.
Right.
Which I guess is supposed to represent like her virginity, which she already gave up many moons ago.
Many moons
ago. And the camera kind of spins around them for a while, and then they both turn and look at the camera, and it looks like, the beginning of a haunted house movie where it's like, these are the people who died in this home and are going to haunt you.
The end. Like,
and then it says the end, and then there's a blooper reel that's just like 3 clips of a dog kind of misbehaving, but not really misbehaving.
Not really. Not at all. Like, just not wanting to do what they wanted him to do.
I can't imagine there are no great bloopers from this film somewhere. That in the hours and hours of footage that they captured, there can't possibly be the actor breaks character and says, "Why is this happening? Why am I doing this?"
I have a feeling, this is my thought, my theory, my suspicion, that the director, being that she was so serious, was like, no, the translation's good. You use the lines.
Yes.
She didn't think that anything that they were doing was funny.
Yes.
So to her, those moments maybe of like probably very quickly, it was like, you're not to laugh at this. It's not funny.
Yes,
like this is serious.
Not. Yeah, this is art.
So,
this is my art.
To her, the only funny things are the dog misbehaving.
Yes, and the dog, again, it's like just like a moment where it's like they call the dog and he's like wagging his tail. And it's like, is this supposed to be funny?
Or
and
he like sits down.
Yeah, he sits. They're like, okay, you got to stay there. And the dog just sits there. And it's like, is this a blooper? And then they're like trying... they're trying to get the dog to jump into the pool,
and he doesn't want to jump in the pool.
Yeah, and it's like, then it's like, is this animal cruelty? Like, what's going on here? And then the movie just fades out.
He seemed fine when he was swimming around.
Oh, he's fine. I do feel there is a shot though where she has to pull him out, and I'm like, oh, this poor dog.
Like the way she was grabbing him by his elbows.
Yeah, and he's
like,
just
that's
like
not how
miserable.
You grab a dog.
No, and it fades out, and none of these questions are answered. It just fades to black.
It leaves you.
That's the end.
Like, oh, what time is it? And then you look at the clock, and you're like, seriously, that's all that has passed.
But also, like, it's like a miracle. It's like the ending of It's a Wonderful Life when he gets his life back. You feel like it's like you've lived through this nightmare, and like it's traumatic, and you're like, I want to live again. I want to live again, Clarence.
Yes.
And your life, and suddenly it's like you look at the time and you're like, it's 3:30 p.m.
Yeah, it's
I can go outside and it's daytime, and there's a whole world out there for me.
It's
to
like
experience.
Ebenezer Scrooge waking up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's exactly that. Every Christmas metaphor, every Christmas movie
all
metaphor,
of those.
all of the Christmas movies, you are like, my life is mine. It's my own again. It's waking up from the nightmare where you thought you were trapped, or like you were dying, or like your plane was crashing, and you wake up and you're like, no, that didn't happen. I'm alive. And the possibilities are endless. And that's what it feels like when you get to the end of Love on a Leash, is that feeling of like, I can do anything I want. And then you sit down and you start it over.
Right. No, it's also like, you know how when you wake up from like a really long nap that you didn't mean to be that long?
Yeah, right.
And you're like, it's the opposite of that, where you're like, I must have been a really long thing, and it was not. And you're like, thank God.
Yes, you're disoriented, and you're like, hold on, what?
Where am I? When am I?
Yeah. It is, if nothing else, if you've gotten to the end of this episode miraculously, you've listened to this whole thing, and you haven't seen this movie, I would recommend it for no other reason than to, without like mind-altering drugs or getting drunk, like to cognitively, like with hopefully you're cognitively aware, just to mess with your perception of time.
Yes.
This is one of the few things on this planet I've experienced where it literally is like this has to have been an hour, and you'll click on that timestamp and it'll say 15 minutes have passed.
Yeah, it's like how
And
Spider-Man probably feels when he's like reacting to something.
yes, like the spider sense, like you
Yeah.
somehow everything is moving. It feels like you're perceiving
So
time
slow,
normally,
but
but
so fast.
yes, so you will just for that experience alone, I think this is worth watching. That's really the only for
it's
the curious.
Just like hard left after hard left after,
Yes.
and you don't
It
end
keeps
up
you
back in the
guessing.
same place after so many left turns. You're like, how the heck did I not pass by anything? Like, we've been going in circles for hours.
That's why it was genuinely shocking when they brought back that dog model agent. I was like, oh my
Gosh.
God, we met him years ago.
And even just genuinely shocking when she goes to meet the obstetrician. Like,
right.
What?
Yes. So it is an experience.
Mhm.
I'm genuinely shocked that this hasn't spawned like midnight showings. Like it
Yes.
should be one of those movies, but I really do think maybe it's that fearful element of like
How
once
long
you're in
it
the film's
feels.
grasp, you
Yeah.
really like you're stuck there, and
Yeah.
you don't know if you'll ever get out, and
Oh,
you
so
really
many
do feel
people
that.
would be yelling fire in those
Yes, they would be
theaters just to get out.
they
I
would
need
be
to get out of
desperate.
here. Yeah.
Yes, so that is the downside, but it is like I think well worth that
Oh, yes.
that panic,
Do you
that moment of
see
panic.
why I was just so like, I need to talk to you about this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm only sorry that it took us a whole year to get to this, but in a weird way, it
No.
feels appropriate.
It's appropriate.
It feels like this episode, which ultimately I think once it's edited will be around an
4
hour,
hours.
20 minutes, but it will have been a year in reality.
Yeah.
Between, so it's in a way it is Love on this episode it could only have been recorded this way.
You know what? And as much like I genuinely enjoy like doing these episodes and talking with you about all of this stuff, but I
Yes.
will tell you that I just looked at my phone to see like what time it was. Just because I was like, oh, we've probably been talking, I think, for close to 2 hours, but
And no.
about the movie, because I know we were
Yes.
talking before, but nope, it's been like 50 minutes, I think.
This is we've only been talking for roughly 55 minutes or so. So and we've somehow through the experience of relating the film made this episode feel longer
Oh,
than
so long.
it actually
And I
is.
also feel like there's so much that we won't even get to and touch on, because I think, like it is what it is. We've talked about the
to the extent that we can describe what this film is accurately. We've tried. We've really tried.
That, yeah, and as terrible as it is, it really just is something I think that people who truly like appreciate films and like art films and
it deserves yes, you need to watch it, and there's no
because
reason
the
not to. It's
fact
on
that
YouTube. It's
for
on YouTube for free.
no ads.
No ads.
but
No
the-
music either.
The fact, right? No, one song. The
One
fact,
song.
the fact that somebody put this out there, like, I wish I had that kind of confidence.
Yeah, it
in
should be an
anything
inspiration
that I do, and I
It
feel
sh-
like I've done some pretty cool things, and I've like made some pretty cool things and worked like, and I'm so not all the time. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's fine. But like with this, I genuinely cannot fathom how somebody editing this watches this and is like, no, done.
Nailed it.
Final, send it.
Based on what I've read, not a single person wants to be associated with this.
Except the
who
director.
worked on it. Well, the director, but strangely, she does not have her own Wikipedia page. You cannot find the actress Jana Camp. Like, I'm looking
No.
for her on Google and I'm not really finding anything.
No.
So she's gone.
Well, you know
her
what?
husband is gone.
What's her husband's last name?
It is Como, Khamo.
So maybe if you look up Jana Como.
Yeah.
Como.
Let's see. What if it's oh wait. Oh yeah. Here this is her.
Okay.
There we go.
See, you just needed a lady to figure that out.
Oh my god.
Okay, let's hear it.
She is followed by Tom Cruise.
Shut up.
That
makes it
not.
Tom Cruise loves this movie.
Tom
you know
Cruise
he does.
Loves this movie.
I bet you this is what the Scientologists like torture people. They turn all the lights on.
Carley. Her location is Atlanta, Georgia on her Twitter.
Shut up, Shawn.
This is Love on we are being leashed by Love as we speak. This has been an emotional roller coaster through this past few minutes with you.
A wild ride.
Feels like it's been an eternity, but also what a joy. What a treat this has been. And how's her husband doing? Like, look, if nothing else, if this movie has given nothing else to the world, it gave a love to these two people
that
who
has
have
lasted,
children now.
Seems. Yeah.
And those children want to know how their parents met.
Can you imagine?
And they cannot look. I will not stand for this. I do not want to live in a world where these parents are hiding from their children that they were in love on a leash.
Can you imagine?
It's like Spy Kids when they find out that their
yeah.
parents are secret agents and it was hidden from them.
They're like,
this
what?
is that major of a breakthrough.
But how, like, because I've asked like my parents how they met before, and you know, like anybody else, like I actually do remember that. But how, I don't know how I would feel if my parents were like, well, why don't you take a seat? And then turn this on. Yes. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? They trauma bonded. That has to be what happened.
Well, that's clearly what happened. But I think that's a beautiful, I think
it's wonderful.
It's a wonderful thing that happened. I'm really
glad that they found each other. I'm glad that they survived,
Yes.
Because I can't even imagine what the filming process of this was.
No, I don't want to think about it. I would have enjoyed hanging out with the dog all the time. There would have been that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just imagine that the director was just incredibly serious and probably made everyone miserable because she was convinced.
So upset that she was in her 60s.
It really ruins the movie.
Because it does. And I'm going to tell you why. It's less impressive. A lady in her 80s did all this. Psh, hell yeah, you go, girl. You get it on your dream. That's great. Dreams know no age. Fantastic. 60s, I'm sorry. You should have known better in some of the things that you did. This is a little absurd.
And you can almost give her not the benefit of the doubt, but you can excuse it. But at 60s, you're like, you gathered these people. Yeah. In your 60s, you're getting to the point where it's the decisions you're making are going to shape a very you have only so much time left.
Yeah.
And you're going to force these people to come together to make this thing. And presumably these people were paid, some of them at least. But maybe
I think
not.
the guy who said the dog voice said he got paid with cantaloupes and a bag of dumplings.
I think you're right. So not even, but
that
to have
still
the
payment. That is still
to
payment.
have the gall to say I'm finally going to release my baby unto the world and this is it.
This is gonna be a little insensitive, but This is what she finally released. It's kind of no wonder it didn't happen before.
Right.
And to compare it to that is so wild.
It
to
is.
me.
It is very crazy. And then to put the onus on the audience, like
I kind of feel like
if
it's
this
better...
baby dies, it's your fault.
No, I feel like it's better that she compare it to like, man, you know, I'd always thought about killing somebody and I never could, and finally I did it. So here you go. Like, you know,
it's
take
the
a
feeling
look
of
at what
elation.
I killed. Like,
Yes, it's the feeling of elation you get when you finally murder somebody.
I feel like that's
"Wait,
a
what?"
better analogy.
But then,
for
then
what
you watch the
this
movie
is.
and you're like, oh no, I get it.
Oh,
I get
yes,
it.
yes, she's murdering time.
Oh, I think we've murdered enough time.
I think as well.
Here, I think,
but I'll never be done talking about this. So anybody who ever comes up to me or
spawns,
you know, yeah,
I hope this spawns a beautiful friendship with me and this wonderful poor woman.
This is the number one icebreaker for me. If anybody, you know, is like, hey, have you seen Love on a Leash? Immediately, I'm like, yes, I have. Like, what would you like to talk about?
Yes, please. Let's go.
Let's talk. I'll sit and have a whole conversation with you.
Oh man, this has been a magical experience. A year in the making.
A year in the making, and you know, it's only. I feel like the aging process has just made it better.
It's only the beginning.
Yeah,
this is only the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you, Carley.
I thank you, Shawn.
Really, thank you, because you made all of this happen.
I'm so sorry.
And I would love for you to tell anyone who still feels like they want to know you better after knowing that you've brought this here.
I know.
Where could they possibly follow you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram. Carley Does Makeup, Carley. And then when we were talking about it earlier, I made a Letterboxd account.
Yes.
So that
what is it? I'm gonna follow you right now.
And I've put 3 movies up already.
Love on a Leash.
No, I need to. But no, we started recording, so I put it down. Carley, Carleyc.
Okay. Carley C. Is it just Carley C?
That's it.
Oh, there you are. I see.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That's me.
So, all about Eve, the women, and the women.
I put those because the women, the original, the 1939 one. That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, and you've not seen that one, and that one is another one like we've done with Marilyn Monroe, where they're definitely ahead of their time. That one is fantastic.
Okay. All right. We'll do that one.
Yeah.
I am Shawn Dormano 5, as you well know, Carley, because I am now your only follower.
Fantastic.
And I'm also at Shawn Dorman on Twitter. And
let's not call that anymore.
I'm gonna call it that
until
the day I die.
Yeah.
And I would understand if nobody wants to follow me or talk to me ever again after listening to this.
I wouldn't.
Well, you're the exception.
You're a victim in all
yes,
this.
We've been through something. We're like the actors in this film. We have been through an ordeal.
I feel more like the director because I put this on you.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's my fault.
This really is your fault. Yeah,
I did this to us.
Typically in Missing Frames, like, you know, when you fade in with the music and you fade out with the music, but this is not going to have a fade out with music.
I love it.
It doesn't feel appropriate. So I'll just say, everyone, thank you. God bless you for listening to this.
Oh, wait. I have a question for you, though, before we go away.
Yeah.
You didn't rate it.
Oh, my God. Oh, geez. What's our rating system? How many ducks? How many ducks in the pond? How many loves on leashes? How many oh no. How many creepy boyfriends? Creepy prospects.
How many
creepy romantic prospects?
Yeah, okay. Well, she had all the creepy romantic prospects.
Yes, she did.
I mean, honestly, just all around, I think I'd have to give this, like, this is the lowest score I feel like anything could get.
I can't even give this a score.
You know what Like,
it's taken so much. It's taken so much for me. But it is
but it's
for
also
the sheer power of its ability to control time is what makes it worthwhile.
yes, that's something to experience because it's unlike anything else you've ever experienced.
Exactly. On that
Maybe
level
akin
alone,
to waiting in a
five,
doctor's room.
five. Yeah. Waiting to hear the worst possible news.
Yeah.
Yeah. So five. On that level, five. Creepy boyfriends.
Five
Romantic
creepy
prospects.
boys.
Five
Creepy boys.
And that's it. We no longer we subject you
Yeah.
to
That's
Love on a
it.
Leash.
Yeah,
We've said
that's it.
everything
We
that needs
love
to be
you.
said. We love you. We may or may not see you at the movies ever again.
I'm sorry.
Goodbye.